by mistake, Kalyani, means see, her system got switched off. Means there was some technical fault, and that's why she was saying me that to rejoin again. Anyways, it's not needed now.
Okay.
Anyways, let's check this. I've written a try here. This is a try. I'm writing my exceptional handling. I've written a try. Then I have written the catch. Remember this java.lang.arithmetic is a class. So I can just write this particular class name here. See, I'm writing here. It's written throw an arithmetic exception occurred. For example, an integer divided by 0 throws an instance of the class. See, this is an instance of the class. Arithmetic object may be constructed by the virtual machine if suppressed or disabled or the stack was not writable. So you think you forget about this line? You write here throws an instance of the class arithmetic option. See, wherever you have something you do not know what to do with this, you just this class or something, you just hover your mouse or something your this and it will give you the definition. So this is a class arithmetic operation, arithmetic exception. So this is a class and this is a object of this particular class. This class is already been defined by the Java, by the people who created Java, and they have already defined this class. So I'm writing here, suppose I'm printing this out, handled exception, and then I'm writing finally block this out in final block. Now check this. See, it has printed me testing. Though I had an exception, what will happen? As soon as it gets an exception here, okay, it gets an exception here, it automatically comes to your catch block, okay, then it prints your handled exception, then it goes to the finally block in final block, and then it comes to your testing. And remember, this finally block is not mandatory. You can write or you cannot write, but it's better if you write the finally block. So if I'm deleting the finally block here, it is not mandatory to write the finally block. So let's check. It's this try and catch. It's not executing my program or not, I mean, sorry, it's not stopping the execution of my program. It got an exception. Okay, it goes through this particular called handled exception, and this you can check now. First handled exception, I have handled the exception, and then now see I have given he is equal to 1. That means 5/1 is not my exception. So it won't go to the catch block. It won't have to go to the catch block because there is no exception. So it will only print me testing because there is no exception, and it goes to my particular called a5 divided by 1. Since I've written 1, so there is no exception. It does not have to catch the exception. Then it goes to your particular called system dot testing. Remember, all exceptions, all these exceptions, all the exceptions like arithmetics or null pointer, or there are many exceptions that you are going to get, are subclasses of the built-in. This is a built-in class called throwable. Remember, this is a built-in class. Throwable is a built-in class. Already I shown you this arithmetic exception and this all are a class. So this is the super class. Throwable is the super class, and all the other exceptions are the subclasses of this throwable. Okay. This is the superclass. Now, throwable has two subclasses. First one is your exception, and this is basically the superclass, though it's a subclass. Remember, this is a something it's happening like this. Let me check. Let me do it here. Suppose a class is there, class throwable. This is the superclass. Now it has two subclasses like class exception, class exception extends throwable. Let me write. You will understand this particular here. Let me go to another notepad. See, this is one, and class error class error extends also your throwable. So throwable is the superclass. Now throwable have two subclasses, that is exceptional. This is basically let okay, I will tell you afterwards. And this is error. These are the two subclasses, and this exception, this is basically the superclass of all other exceptions like null pointer exception or your arithmetic exception, etc. We have seen the arithmetic exception, so it happens. This is you can say, let me do this. Now what happens? This class, suppose we have done arithmetic exception, okay, extends something called exception. See, this basically, we can say that arithmetic exception is extending from this exception, and this exception is extending from this throwable. So all the exception class are generally, means you can say this throwable is the superclass. All exceptions are the subclasses of the built in throwable, because this throwable has two subclasses, exception and error, and all the exception extends this particular called exception. So indirectly we can say, we can say all the exceptions are the subclasses of the build throw-in class, throwable class. So is this clear? Because whenever you are writing the catch blocks, you need to maintain this sequence. Is it clear?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay. Okay. So we can have a multiple catch blocks. Already we have seen we can have many multiple catch blocks. Uh, Suppose I've written here, it is I have written catch block and catch Here, if I had written something called exception E, or suppose I had written, let's better do it here. The superclass, I'm writing the superclass in the catch block at first. Exception or obj is, and then I'm writing a sysout. And handled exception or something. So it is giving me an error. Let's check what is the error. It is telling me it is not going to reach. See, unreachable catch block for arithmetic. It is already handled by the block called exception. As I have written the superclass before, then the subclasses, as this I have already written it, so it will never reach at this particular code. But if I had done the other thing, the subclasses before the superclass, like here, this is the subclass, and then I have written the exception, and you can see it is called. Then you can see this block is reachable. What happens? Let's check. See, it is printing me testing. Oh, sorry, I need to write here 0 to get the exception. See, it has come to the handled exception. Remember, if it will go only in, even if you have multiple catch blocks, okay, it will go to only one of the catch blocks. It goes to the sub exception. It finds, okay, arithmetic exception. So it goes to the sub block, and then it has already executed this handled exception. It will come out of the try catch, and then it is printing me the testing. But you cannot use the superclasses above your subclasses in the catch block. Otherwise, this will come. This will always come in the superclass object, and at down, whether you are writing the code or not, those will never get executed or will never get reached, or it's always unreachable by your try and catch blocks if you write the superclass above your subclass. So if I'm giving another type of exceptions, let's find an array. Do you remember an array? Int c equal to new int 12, or make it 3. I've done 3. Now I am giving c equal to 1, 2, 2, 3, and 4. But it is showing me convert into, oh sorry, give it in this way. Or let me try directly to, I'm giving us something. It could have, it is not taking much. Int c is equal to 1. If I'm doing it here, problem, it is taking int create class. Oh, I should have defined it here. Yeah, but okay, let me do it in this way. Int 0 equal to 1, c 1 equal to 2, c2 equal to 4. Okay, now I'm trying to print your c4 equal to 5. See, my size is 3, but I've given 4. So let me try to print the 4.
I think both 3 and 4. Uh, I think it's
Yeah.
better 0, 1, 2, and 4 or 3.
Okay. So it's an exception. Yeah, you are correct. So it have
Yeah,
been 2 and been 3.
3. Yeah.
So let's check. If I print the 3, that means it will give an exception to me.
Yes.
So let's check what it prints. Will it print handled exception or will it print me the handle superclass exception without print C3? See, it has given me array out of bound index error at your 3, but it has not catch this particular exception. Let me check why. Let us check why it has not caught me this particular exception, and it has already executed my this particular. Can you tell me why this is not being caught? Anyone?
It's not the arithmetic exception.
Which one?
Uh, okay. I think
Tell
it
me
should be
why.
handled by the superclass, right?
Yeah, why this is not being caught? If I have written it something called catch,
Is array index out of bound exception not the subclass of exception?
just wait.
Okay, so
It's
yeah.
array index out of bounds exception. Let's check this. Still giving me an error. Okay, okay. See where the exception is giving me error. Can you tell me why this is not being handled? It is the subclass of this, but yes, I made a mistake somewhere. Tell me where it's giving me an error. See, I have written a try catch block here. Okay, I have written a try catch block here, but it is throwing the exception from this particular line. So it's not inside your try catch block.
Okay, okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah, even you can check now. Let me go to here. Let me do it here. Now you check. See, it has printed me handle exception, right? Now if I am removing it here, so this is mine called handed superclass exception. Now this is the means everything I told you, every exception extends this exception, which in turn ex, means extends the throwable class. So automatically this is the superclass. This has all the means all the subclasses have extended this superclass, so it will print you handle superclass exception. So Did you understand, Anusha and Tejashwini?
Yes, sir.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah,
Is there any
yeah,
particular use with the finally block?
yeah. Finally, should I
Is there
write?
any particular use with finally block or it's optional? As you said, it's optional, but is there any
No,
particular use?
finally, yes. Finally, block means it's depend on the user. It depends on the user what you need to do here. You can write. Suppose you can write finally block something. Your block execution, you need to write some finally block, whether a code means whether you need, means what I will tell you, uh, whether you execution means whether an exception is caught or not. You need to write, means if you want to write something in the finally, whether you have an exception or not an exception, you are not sure about it. So but you need your particular block to be executed even if there is an exception. Okay, you need your block to be executed. At that point of time you need a finally, like this. Suppose you need a block every time you need something called this to be executed, whether an exception is there or not.
But if you write after try catch, it will be automatically executed, right?
So you suppose I'm telling you
Okay.
in ln something called testing. I need to write in, means I need to execute this block even if there is exception or not. This is a must. This is a must. So tell me, your try and catch, generally this begins just after your something from here. Generally, if you can see in your program, your try and catch, this blocks begins from here. But you need to write this particular, you need to execute this particular call testing. Tell me, what should I write? You never know from which line, this your particular exception, you will get an exception. Okay, you, that's why but you need this block to be executed, whether you will get an exception, whether at any point of time. You could have written on something called here, you thought that okay, these are just general questions, let me write this particular called sysout dot, you are not sure that I need to write this testing here. Okay, you are not sure this. Okay, but I need this block of code to be executed at any point of time. Suppose I'm writing a, see, I'm writing it here. So every time a, a single statement has been written thrice, because of the code is, you are not sure about this particular code where to be written. Let me check this. Let us check this. Then you have printed, okay, testing and testing. Why it has printed me twice the testing? Print me only once. I have written somewhere.
You have written thrice, right? After C of 3 equal to
Okay,
5.
okay,
And
okay. I've written it here also.
yeah.
I've written it here. So this is coming. So now you see, it can be coming only twice. So I'm not sure there will be an exception or there will not be an exception. So I have to write thrice. Okay. See, to print this particular testing, I have to write thrice. Now, if there was a not an exception, This something from this testing is being printed from this catch block. Now I do not know whether I will get an exception. Your code was like this. So it is printing me the testing of this, particularly testing of this. But you need this particular block to be executed even if you get exception or not. So instead of writing thrice, you can write only once. Only one. There might be in a finally block your execution, okay, or something called some manipulation of the data. You can writing here finally. So whether you need, don't think that it is just a system.out.println. You can just think of a scenario that you need to manipulate lots of data. Whether you get an exception or not, it doesn't matter, but you need to execute a block that is mandatory. You need to do a bit of calculation or manipulate the data, or in your program it needs to have that particular which you will use in your later stage. So you need to have those. So let's check.
Okay, sir.
Instead of writing thrice, I've written only once. Now, now this ensures me even if there is an exception caught or not, this block is my executed. Okay. Is it clear why this finally block we should write?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Biggest example I'm giving. When you are just doing, you are opening a file. Suppose you are working, because I haven't gone through your file system, and that's why I'm not telling. Whenever you are using a database, okay, or wherever you are using, you are writing a file, okay, opening a file. Remember, you open a connection, okay, or you open your stream, but you need to close that particular connection. When you are just inserting in your database through your Java code, you can check that you get a connection, that connection con and connection. Whenever this is opened, or whenever your reader is opened or a writer is opened, okay, you need to close in your program. So you never know when you will get uh, exception in your code. So you write something called, in your writer or in your database, you write it finally. So whether you get an exception or not, okay, you need to close those connections. Otherwise, if your means block gets an exception, suppose if you have written something here, a close statement of your connections in the database, connection in the database, if you are closing this particular scenario here, okay, you get an exception, and then you haven't written any finally, so your connection is always being suspended there, means it will always remain there, it will never get closed. So either you have to write this particular in all the catch blocks what you have written, so a redundant block will be repeated in each catch blocks, because you never know which exception you are being caught, whether it's an arithmetic exception, whether it is array bound of exception. You need to repeat this all blocks, same block of code. So instead of writing, repeating these blocks, as you are unsure which exception will be caught and from which line the exception will be thrown, so you write a particular call in your finally block, like closing of your database or closing of your writer or this. That's why this particular finally block is being executed. I will show this when I'm doing with the databases, when I'm working with the databases, and when I'm working with the files. Hope that is clear.
Yes, sir.
Because remember,
Otherwise, I can
yeah,
just write a statement of closing uh, without using a finally block, right?
where
Uh,
do you want to write?
just after try and catch, I can write a statement for closing the connection. Uh,
No, see,
Even
I'm
if it
telling
is
you.
like that, it will be executed, right? Without writing finally.
Yes, without writing finally, it will get executed. But remember, this is the programming standards or something. Whenever you are writing a finally or the try catch block, believe me, in your upper world or when you will write a program, believe me, this catch or finally should be the end statement of your particular method.
Okay, sir. Yeah, sure.
Means whenever you are writing this program, you will most of the programs you will see the finally or the catch block should be last last exception, means last block. Because suppose I'm telling you, suppose what happens in a current scenario when you will work in a big project or something. In your catch, here I'm writing only a sysout and just I'm trying to print out what is happening. But there might be a scenario in catch exceptions. Okay, you need to go to a different class or a different method from where you are doing some bit of manipulation, and from there you are going to exit from the Java world. Okay, Java world. Finally
Okay.
means here when you are working in a big project, finally means where this should be your last statement. This is the coding standard when you use in your big projects.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
Yes, you're correct.
Yeah.
That is after finally you can just write this closing statement here, or you can do it here. But it's always a good coding standard to write the finally and close the blocks. And believe me, work in future you will just remember, okay, this Sarah's told me this finally and catch block has to be the last statements. This is the coding standard. Yes, there are catch blocks. After catch block you have some other uh, means codes also you will find, but that is not a good programming. Okay,
Yes. Yes, sir.
okay, so this is the coding standard that we use. Okay,
Yes.
anyways, from next class I will just do, we'll go with that statement called, we'll go with this particular statements: throw, throws. Already I've done with the finally, and throw and throws. We will go with throw, throws, and user defined function. And remember one more thing, one more thing, why I cannot close. Suppose a question that has just strike my head. Okay, suppose you are writing means Monica, see, you are writing int I is equal to 0 here. You're opening a stream. Remember, you're opening a stream here. Okay, I equal to 0 or I is equal to 5. Suppose you are opening a stream here. Let's this out after this finally block. Just it has strike in my head. Okay, why I cannot use outside the finally block.
Okay.
Okay, okay. This is a local variable. Okay, I'm wrong. That has strike in my head. Whenever you are writing something called here, okay, int I is equal to I. Okay, this is always your local to this particular block called here.
Try.
It is
Yeah.
always local to this try and catch. You cannot
Yes.
use it in the finally, you cannot use it in the finally, or you cannot use outside this. So let
Okay.
me remember this particular, if you are writing a stream here or something, it cannot go out of this particular try and catch because it will be local to this try and catch block. So instead of writing a stream or anything, you need to write above this try and catch block. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay, okay. So next class I will go with the throw and throws and the user defined function, user defined exceptions.
Okay, sir.
Okay, any other questions you have? Tejashwini, Monica, I think she had few doubts. And Tejashwini and Anusha.
No, sir, we are good. I'm good.
Okay, okay. Yeah. Bye.
Okay,
Bye.
sir.